Welcome everybody to another installment of App Marketing Conversations. As always, I'm Ian Sufferman of Mobile Dev HQ, Ryan Morrell, and Robi Ganguly of Attentive.
I'm not at Attentive.
You're not at Attentive. Where are you?
I'm at Gamehouse.
Gamehouse.
I would like a shirt though.
Okay.
I would make that happen. You're looking at me to see if I can fit in one or something.
I was trying to figure out if you're a large or a medium.
You got the red going on.
That's very complimentary.
We could just put a sticker.
Yeah. We're readily happy to give you a sticker.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about App Store Competitive Intelligence 101, and in particular, why should you do competitive intelligence if you're an app marketer. So the first question is sort of what can you learn at a super high level from competitive intelligence?
So coming from where I sit, a lot of customers are focused on the customer satisfaction aspect of things. They look at other people's apps in the App Store, they look at their ratings, their reviews, and they learn a couple things, like how satisfied are their existing customers? Is there an opportunity to go get dissatisfied customers? It's very large. What are the things that seem to be key features and capabilities that really resonate with people? And then overall, in general, what's the sort of like heat around it? You know, how much do people care? So that's a place where I think there's a lot of competitive intelligence just in the App Store itself.
Yeah, I think the App Store itself provides more opportunity for competitive intelligence than the web ever did, right?
Yeah.
Directly from the customer themselves, where in a way that was previously unavailable, you can actually see what people are talking about, what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah.
Super fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and until recently, the challenge was you could only see. It was a one-way communication channel. Now it's like what you guys do, you can actually have some two-way communication.
Yep.
And this kind of brings us back to an old conversation we had about Google enabling developers to go back and forth with consumers. I haven't heard anything about that since then, so maybe that didn't go anywhere, I don't know. But yeah, it's unique compared to the rest of the market.
Yeah. So you have a bunch of data in there from customers about what they like, what they dislike about your different competitors. How can you start to think about how to take what's written in there and use it towards things like product planning and so on?
So, I mean, from my perspective, I'm not sure what you mean by written in there. So, I mean, I would look at competitive.
Reviews.
Yeah, I would look at competitive intelligence from a product planning perspective of identifying where are the gaps in terms of what does the market want and what's being provided, and where can you find some amount, if not a lot of demand in an underutilized segment, right? So that's how I would do it. Like for a really to use an egregious example, it'd be like, hey, I really want to do an arcade game. So you go look in the arcade section and you find like Angry Birds Doodle Jump, cut the rope away. I mean, that's not a good idea, right? And that's like the really basic competitive intelligence. But you might go into family or casinos, another example of a really competitive group. But you can find some holes, so you gotta be mindful in product planning.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. And I think that you can also, again, just coming back to this notion of figuring out what's core, like what do you have to do. So if you're starting from zero, and then if you already have an app out there and thinking about where you need to go next, like how do you prioritize that next piece of your roadmap based upon what other people are doing well. And again, you can do analysis around, we're kind of similar here, and here's a big gap, and they seem to be going one way, right? Like those casino games, but there are certain genres. Maybe there's this other genre, or there's this gap in functionality or payouts or something like that.
Yeah, and our product, for the enterprise now, we actually have a competitive intelligence tool that helps you do a lot of this stuff. So one of the things that we do is we will break down reviews over time, and you can match a bunch of reviews up to a release, and then it will actually break it down by rating of the review, so 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, and then do natural language processing on that to give you sort of these are the things that most 5-star reviews talk about for this app. These are the things that most 1-star reviews talk about for this app. So when you have a direct competitor, it's actually really interesting because you can start to see things like when somebody gives it a 1-star and they're like, I want X, like, oh, that's an interesting feature for me to think about, or I hate Y. It's like, oh, that's an interesting feature for me to not do, or think about how to do in a way that like is going to make them happier.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Well, I guess that's really cool. I didn't know that. A really interesting thing you could do is that sort of intelligence can start dictating your marketing efforts as well. Like if you find that, hey, all these 5-star reviews say, I love feature X, well then, guess what? There's your next marketing campaign. Or I hate feature Y, then don't put that in marketing, right? And so that sort of intelligence lets you not only kind of plan for your product, but also how you're going to go about marketing.
So I think that puts us like that's a good 101 overview of why you want to do competitive intelligence. At the highest level, competitive intelligence gives you a framework to work within inside the App Store around product planning, marketing, strategy, right? Like at a super high level, it gives you a really great framework to work with. And maybe in the next coming weeks, we can talk more in depth about each particular spot.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Make sure to like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and leave any comments if you have any questions. And watch the other videos, of course.